If you have lost someone you love and you're still asking why, this episode is for you. This is Real Talk, Real Faith, Inside Soulful Sister Sanctuary. I am your host, Zaria Grace. This space is for grown women who love God, carry a lot on their shoulders, and are ready to live lighter. Here, we talk about why we feel the way we do and how to move with peace, clarity, and faith that feels steady. We're going to keep it real. We drop the mask and we lay it down so that God can lift it up. Take what fits, leave what doesn't, but don't ignore what hits. Now let's begin. People think you're healed because you kept going, because you answered the text, you went back to work, you showed up for the kids, and because you learned how to say, I'm okay, without falling apart. But functioning is not the same as healing. Some of you are just carrying grief quietly. You're still doing the things that needs to be done. You're still making the calls. You're still paying the bills. You're still showing up and taking care of everybody else. But somewhere inside, there's a part of you that is still standing in the moment that everything changed. And nobody sees that part. They see the woman who gets up, who gets dressed, who gets back to work, who can laugh, and who keeps moving. But they don't always get to see the part of you that is still trying to understand, still trying to accept it, and still trying to make sense of why life kept going when your heart was broken. That is grief. And some of you have been calling it healing when you really just learn how to function while you're still hurting. And I'm not saying that to discourage you. I say that because you deserve to tell the truth. Maybe you are grateful for what remains, but still grieving what was lost. Maybe you're still trusting God, but you still have questions that you just don't know how to say out loud. Maybe you're showing up every single day, but inside you know that this has changed you. Because every day your heart may be carrying something heavy. And this is the part that we don't always make room for, especially in faith spaces. Because grief can start feeling like a test of spiritual maturity. Like if you really trusted God, then you would be more at peace now. Like if you really believed, you wouldn't be crying still. Like if you really had faith, you wouldn't be asking why. But that's just not true. Pain asks questions that faith never had to ask before. Why them? Why like that? Why did this have to touch my life this way? Why did I have to carry this? Why did God allow this? Why did I have to become a different woman because of something I never chose? And some of you are not asking why because you're curious. You're asking why because you're angry. You're asking why through tears. Asking why with the tightness in your chest. Asking why because it feels unfair that you had to suffer like this. It feels unfair that you had to become the strong one. It's unfair that people got to move on when you were left trying to figure out how to live with the absence. It feels unfair that you prayed, that you believed, that you hoped, and still had to bury something, release something, lose something, or live without someone you loved. And maybe nobody has been able to give you the answers that actually settles your heart. So today, I don't want to rush you into closure. I don't want to hand you a cute quote or give you some cliche statement. And I definitely don't want to tell you just to trust God in a way that makes you feel guilty for even still hurting. But I want to sit with the real question here. How do you keep living when people think you're healed just because you're functioning? Because there are some losses that you just don't get through. You just survive them. You learn how to do all the things because life doesn't stop just because your heart did. The bills still come, the kids still need you, work still expects you to show up, church still meets on Sunday, and meanwhile your heart is standing there saying, wait, something happened. Are we just supposed to keep going? And the answer is complicated because yes, life keeps going. But no, you do not have to act like it didn't change you. And this is where a lot of women get stuck because they're trying to live inside a life that no longer feels like the one that they knew. Grief sometimes is just not about death. Maybe you're grieving in a marriage, a friendship, a dream, a child you never got to hold, a body that has changed, a season that has ended, or the woman you used to be before life changed you. Grief is not only about someone dying. Grief is also about living with what will never be the same. And when something changes you that deeply, you cannot just snap back just because people are ready for you to be okay. Time passing is not the same as healing. And some of you need permission to admit that. You're not crazy or weak or faithless. Nah, you are grieving. And grief will not always look like tears. Sometimes it looks like anger. Actually, let me say that stronger. Some of you are not crying anymore. You're angry. You're numb. You're tired. You're irritated. You're short with people. You're mad that everybody else got to return to a normal life while your whole world changed. You're mad at the people who checked on you for the first few weeks and then disappeared. You're mad that life keeps requiring things from you when you had nothing left to give. You're mad because you prayed and the outcome still broke your heart. You're mad because you didn't just lose a person or a season. You lost a version of life that you thought you were going to have. Your anger is not proof that you have failed God. It may be proof that your heart is trying to process something that still feels unbearable. Anger can be pain looking for somewhere to go. Anger can be love with nowhere to land. Anger can be that your heart is saying, this hurt me. This changed me. And I just don't know what to do with that yet. This is why we have to talk about grief honestly, because grief does not just touch your emotions. It can shake your faith, your sense of safety, your future, your ability to feel joy without guilt, your ability to trust that life can still be good. And grief doesn't only live in your thoughts. it can live in your body too. And that is why you may feel tired in the way that sleep just isn't fixing. That's why your body may be heavy before your mind even knows what day it is. That's why a song, a smell, a picture, a holiday, a memory, it can just make your whole body go quiet. That's not weakness. That is the weight of love meeting the reality of loss. That is grief touching a place that still matters. Your body remembers impact. It remembers what you had to survive. It remembers what your mouth stopped explaining. So part of your healing is not just thinking better thoughts. It's helping your body experience small moments of safety again. Eating something, resting, breathing, letting someone safe sit beside you, putting your hand on your chest and saying, I'm here. That may sound simple, but when your body has been carrying grief, simple care matters. You don't need a perfect healing plan. You just need a rhythm for the heavy days. One safe person, one simple prayer, one place to breathe, one small way to remember without destroying yourself every time. Because healing is not always dramatic. Some days the victory is small. You get out of bed, you answer one message, you ate something, you let yourself cry, you told the truth about how you feel. Don't shy away from small signs of life. When grief has been heavy, small can be sacred. Sometimes you begin again in inches. And I know people can get uncomfortable when we say this out loud, especially when we believe in God. But grief can complicate your faith. And it's not because your faith is gone. It's because your heart is hurting. Some of you are scared to admit that you're actually disappointed in God. Because you believed so deeply. You prayed, you trusted, you hoped. You asked God to move. You asked God to heal, to cover and protect. And the outcome still broke your heart. That kind of pain can make prayer feel very complicated. It can make your worship feel complicated. It can make hearing certain scriptures feel complicated. And I don't want to shame that. I want to tell the truth about it. Because people try to comfort grieving women too quickly. They mean well. But then they say things that make you feel like you're supposed to be more peaceful than you are. Well, at least they're in a better place. God doesn't make mistakes. Be strong. They wouldn't want you to cry. Some of those words have truth in them. But when your heart is broken, timing matters. Sometimes the most healing thing is not an explanation. The most healing thing is someone sitting beside you and saying, I'm here. I'm so sorry this happened. Because when a loss doesn't make sense, trying to explain it away too fast can make somebody feel like they're asking your soul to skip steps. And grief does not work like that. You cannot Bible verse your way out of being human. You cannot gratitude journal your way out of missing somebody. You cannot force peace just because you know the right spiritual answer. God is close to the brokenhearted. I believe that with everything in me. But being close to God doesn't mean that you'll never feel broken. God is not offended by your honesty. He can handle the truth of your grief. He can handle your questions. He can handle your tears. He can handle your anger. He can handle your silence. You don't have to perform peace for God. You can come honestly. This hurt me. This changed me. I miss them. I am not the same. That is a holy place to begin. And I want to speak to the woman who may feel guilty for living again, because grief has a way of turning joy into something that feels suspicious. You laugh and then you catch yourself. You enjoy something and then guilt taps you on the shoulder. You feel lighter for an afternoon and then you wonder, does this mean I'm forgetting? No. Healing is not betrayal. Breathing again is not betrayal. Smiling again is not betrayal. Letting life touch you again is not betrayal. Some of you had made suffering the last place you feel connected to what you lost. So every time you rest or you laugh or you enjoy something or feel okay for a moment, guilt tells you that you're moving too far away. But pain is not the only evidence of love. You can honor them without staying wounded on purpose. You can carry love without carrying torment. You can remember them without punishing yourself. Your love is not measured by how much you suffer. Pain is not the proof that you love them. You already love them. The relationship was real. The bond was real. The ache is real. You don't have to keep yourself in constant suffering to prove that the loss was important. Love does not end because access changed. You may not be able to call them. You may not be able to hear their voice the way you want to. You may not be able to sit at a table with them, ask questions, share updates, and go back to the way things were. And that hurts. That is real. But love, it can remain even when the access has changed. Healing doesn't require you to erase the person that you lost. Healing means that you're learning how to carry love without letting pain be the only way that you stay connected. And there's another grief that we need to name. Sometimes you're not only grieving who or what you lost, you're grieving who you were before the loss. You miss the woman who didn't know this kind of pain. You miss how safe the world felt before this kind of goodbye. You miss the version of yourself that didn't have to be this strong. This is a lot to carry. So no, you're not crazy for still being affected. You're not behind because grief still visits you. You're not less faithful because you're still hurting. And you are not healed just because you're functioning. Your grief is real, but your life is not over. The person you lost mattered. The dream you lost mattered. The version of life that you thought you would have mattered. The unanswered questions matter. The anger matters. The part of you that feels change matters. But guess what? Your life still matters too. And I know that can feel strange to say because grief can sometimes make life feel like something that you're just surviving and not something that you're allowed to receive again. But there can still be care for you. There can still be moments where God meets you in the middle of the ache. Not always with an answer, but sometimes with breath, with strength for the next hour, with mercy for the next step, with a person who checks on you at the right time, with a quiet moment when you simply realize, I'm still here. And when you know deep grief, you know this. I am still here can be a whole testimony. Not because everything feels good or is resolved or you never get angry or you never cry. But because loss did not erase you. There is still life in you. Tender life. Tired life. Different life. But life. So how do you keep living when people think that you're healed just because you had to move forward and keep showing up? Slowly. That's the answer. Not all at once, not perfectly, not by pretending you're okay, not by becoming strong so everyone else feels comfortable, but slowly. You take the next breath, take the next step. You let safe people know when your day is heavy. You tell God the truth. You stop shaming yourself for having human reactions to a heartbreaking loss. And when joy comes, even if it's small, don't try to punish it. That's how you keep living. You are not betraying what you lost by continuing to live. You're not dishonoring your grief by receiving care. And you're not leaving them behind because you let God help you breathe again. You keep living by allowing love to remain and not by letting pain be the only way that you stay connected. So today, maybe the next step is small. Just one honest reminder. This is hard. And I'm still here. And for today, that is enough. Now, before you go, unclench your jaw, drop your shoulders, and take one slow, delicious breath in and out. You have carried enough for today. God never asked you to be everything for everyone. You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to say no. And you are allowed to be cared for. Strong doesn't mean silent, and burnout is not holy. Let's lay it down so that God can lift it up, and I will see you inside the sanctuary.